Welcome everyone, today we have a new updated version of the Runemaster Guide, and today we'll be learning from Macin Brzeski. Oh, please tell me I got the name right. So let's have a look at his gameplay of the Runemaster with 2200 corruption and also the powers behind it. So yes guys, this will be an updated version of our Runemaster Guide, and you can see there are a lot of similarities. He is going with a Force Claw Runemaster together with the similar skills, utilities and also combinations. There will be some changes in terms of the choice of the skill trees and also choices of items. But if you have been following our Runemaster Guide that we learned last time, the previous guide was working towards 1000 corruption and also plus. And here is a great demonstration of the Runemaster going beyond 2000 corruption. And this is quite amazing. So I was having a really good time learning and also seeing what can be adjusted, what can be changed for the Runemaster for the latest stage of the game. Right away you can see guys, you are spamming Force Claw. Together with your traversal skill with Flame Rush, you're moving quite fast. And you have tons of warding if you stay still and also start casting your spells. Now I do believe he can easily get 20,000 close to 30,000 warding, and I'll be demonstrating to you guys on that particular part with a boss fight. So as we continue to go through the replays, you can see our Runemaster friend here is doing a lot of damage. Most of the damage will be lightning critical strikes, and this is why we're building towards critical strike chains, critical strike multipliers. Together with tons of durability and also adjustment for defensive capacities through the amulets and also the rings, he is able to sustain himself and take down everything in 2200 plus corruption. So now let's jump a little further to one of the story boss fights with the Runemaster. So this is 2200 corruption with the boss fight, and currently he's fighting Abomination. And yes, here is the damage numbers. Some of my viewers has recommended for me to get the Runemaster closer to the monster, and this will allow the return damage to bounce continuously. One of the bigger focus you want to notice is he's doing sizable damage to the story boss while gaining over 30,000 warding. So he's incredibly durable, able to face tank the boss and pretty much sustain himself just face tanking the boss. Yes, there will be some mana regeneration, and he is pretty much spamming over 40,000 warding now, face tanking the boss. And this build is going to be incredible if you guys want to solo push your way to very high corruption and also push your way through arenas as well, because you can face tank anything and you deal tons of damage AoE and also single target. Now for those of you that have not seen this version of the Runemaster, let me explain the skill rotations. You're auto casting multiple spells throughout your Force Claw, and this spell will be casting other spells which in return cost other spells. Your major source of damage will be coming from your lightning damage, and this is why we're scaling towards additional lightning damage and also additional casting speed, so you can be casting more spells. Because of the gloves you're using, you're also gaining additional warding as you cast elemental spells, and this stacks up a lot with increased casting speed. Together with the durability and also survivability, using your runic powers using cold, fire, cold combinations, you're gaining a lot of warding, a lot of survivability, and also tons of damage as you can see over here. Now the AoE capacity of this particular build is off the roof. You're literally killing monsters from 2 screams away and everything melts in front of you. The fireworks and also animation is amazing. The only downside for me is sometimes too sparkly and your eyes are not adjusting to the light. In terms of the mobility, the build is great because you can be dashing around with Flame Dash, and this means that you have so much mobility, such a low cooldown, and also deals tons of damage. Now if you look behind me, we have several builders guide. We have one version here from our Macin over here, and this is his version. I have made a slight adjustment version to make the items more attainable. So here he has a legendary 4 potential wand. I made this one into legendary 3 potential, just so it's more attainable and you guys know which stats to look for. We also have a previous version of the Runemaster for comparison. So yes, I'll detail those and also tag those into different builds for you guys for different varieties. Now before we jump into the builder's guide, I do want to say a big thank you for Marksman Guides for sharing this particular build and also how you can go over 2200 corruption. So if you guys do want to follow the Runemaster throughout the in-game content and also together with variety of build with Macin over here, I do recommend coming over here to his YouTube channel and also learn from him. He will also be adding additional notes over here. If you have a look at the description, you can see that he was revealing against the Shade boss over 2000 corruption, the build will struggle a little bit. but with the latest nerf with Warlock, this build is likely gonna be the best build for farming the Monolith. It is still a struggle against the Shade, keep that in mind, over 2000 corruption. But the build is incredibly powerful with most of the content, and as you saw face tanking the boss, the build is extremely durable and deals tons of damage. So coming over to a builder's guide. I'll be using a version I have adjusted slightly towards this build, with adjustment to some resistance and also make the items more attainable. Because I don't think most of us will getting 1 legendary potential on the red ring. Those are really costly since our last builder's guide, and here I made the version without legendary potential. So right away you can see, compared to our previous build which had the setup with a different belt, different rings, and that's pretty much it, and also a little bit different gloves. So the biggest focus of the change of the build compared to the previous Runemaster are going to be those items. So I'll focus on the change of the items, then we'll briefly talk about the rest of the items and why you're going for those stats. So right away we can notice our friend here is using the red ring. Having additional damage reduction, mana regen, dodge rate, all resistance, all attribute, and also movement speed is incredible on this ring. The bigger focus is that we want to have over 180 total attributes. And while using those boots over here, you'll be getting a lot of attributes. And this ring also gives you a lot of attributes. So the damage reduction is really welcome for the late game. And this particular ring, in combination with the amulet, which reduces damage over time taken, is quite important for him to survive over 2200 corruption. Now, as for the other items, he's also using the Julius ring. Now this ring, crafted with tier 7 intelligence and also lightning damage, will provide you triple effect of the stats after using movement or time travel spell. And the movement spell have such a low cooldown with Flame Rush, you can be always benefiting from this particular ring. And this gives him additional spell damage, lightning damage, intelligence, additional mana regen. And this is actually going to be very powerful. In our previous build, we had the Exalted rings, and this is gonna be one of the endgame upgrade if you're making towards your Runemaster and considering both offense and also defense. So I do believe those are very important adjustments towards the endgame setup, and this will allow him to push with higher damage and also more survivability for over 2000 corruption. As for the belt over here, I was a little skeptical on the Juggle Queen belt. Even though there's a lot of potions, I didn't see much use of the stats. But for this particular build, you can see that we get more ward retention, more ward per second, more mana gain, and also we can craft this one with more additional mana regen and also cooldown reduction. So in a sense, I do think this build may be a little better than the previous build we were looking at from the previous build for the Runemaster. And those are going to be the 3 major changes compared to the previous build. Now in terms of the core piece of the build, we're using a catalyst which will give us more stats and also more effect and also more damage for spark charge, which is a major source of lightning damage. Here we'll be gaining additional casting speed using a Mad Alchemist wand. Having over 170 intelligence means your casting speed will be super high. Having higher casting speed means that when you cast your spells, you will be gaining additional warding as you cast your elemental spells. And this is incredibly good as you gain over 30-40,000 warding and become the face tank unstoppable killing machine in the late game. As for the helmet, you'll be gaining additional critical chance. Very important to roll the helmet with 4% critical chance over here, and this will allow you to amplify your critical chance with spells close to 100%. Together with getting more critical strike multipliers, intelligence, and also more multipliers, this build has great capacity to deal damage while scaling greatly with intelligence and also with other multipliers. Now as for the gloves over here, because we're using Exalted gloves, he is also opting for the armor mitigation implicit. So notice it's important guys to reduce damage over time if you're planning to push over 2000 corruption. Together with intelligence, casting speed, additional armor, elemental resistance, and also the possibility to seal more resistance as your 5th affix, those Exalted gloves can be one of the best items for the build if you craft this correctly. Now if you guys do not get enough resistance, what you can do is you can take away some of the idols over here for more resistance as well. So you can see there is a resistance difference between the build, and I have tried to tweak and also make a max resistance for you guys for the late game. Now in terms of the idols and also blessings, it is very similar to our previous build, and you can see we'll be getting some mana efficiencies and also additional ways of getting more mana efficiencies, increased armor, increased lightning damage, and also lightning critical strike chance. Together with balancing for more critical strike chance and also the resistance we're missing, we can be sitting on over 75% resistance while dealing more damage. The blessings will focus on critical strike multipliers because we have so much critical chance, all elemental resistance, armor and also armor increase, together with shredding lightning resistance, as most of the damage are coming from lightning with a spark charge. Now as a quick rundown of the spells, you'll be casting Force Claw, and these spells have multiple chances of multi-casting, going back, forth, and of returning the spell. And while casting your Force Claw, you'll also be auto-casting your Elemental Nova, which in return will cast Spark Charge, which is going to be the major source of damage as you're going to see in the replays. And this combination allows you to have the ability to take away the spell of the Elemental Nova. So having Elemental Nova not on the tree, you can then have an unskilled version of Snap Freeze. And this will give you the rotation for your Runic Invocation, which allows you to have cold, fire, cold in terms of your defensive Runic Invocation, which is quite important defensively as we're going to come back to skill rotations. Now if we compare the two versions of the build compared to the previously and the current build, you can see there's an adjustment towards those skill points over here and also towards additional mobility for the latest build. So if you guys are planning to transition into late game, I do recommend coming here and also comparing the skill trees. You can see there are some difference with the previous build. I won't have to go through those in too much details, and I'm sure you guys can balance and also adjust slightly towards your build as you progress with the Runemaster. Now in terms of the passives, they are not major changes, but you can see there are some value points allocated across the skill tree. Adjusting for this will allow you to adapt a new build and also target towards the higher corruption. Now coming back to Macin's video with a demonstration of over 2200 corruption for our skill rotations. You can see that he is pretty much rotating the spells. So one of the highlights I want to highlight with you guys, it's hard to see with all the animations. Notice on the top of his head, he's constantly having cold, fire, cold for his Runic Invocation. So having this defensive setup for the Runic Invocation is quite important as he goes through the map. And this will allow him to gain additional warding gain and also be more defensive with the higher level dungeons. Most of the skill rotations are straightforward, guys. You are dashing forward. Because of the range you have, you'll be getting more stats as you dash forward all the time. So you want to keep yourself mobile. Together with the rotation of casting your defensive spell with Flame Ward and also your Force Claw continuously, you will be doing a lot of damage. And I don't think you guys should have any problems against the Echo and any of the maps, because this build does so much AoE damage and also is incredibly durable. Now a small focus towards the boss and also major elite monsters. So notice over here he's pretty much clearing the ads before the boss. While fighting the boss, if you have enough sustained warding and also enough durability, you can face tank the boss. Ideally, you want to get close to the boss as recommended by our viewers, because the return cycle of the Force Claw and also its effects will allow you to do even more damage. So getting close to the boss or single target enemies will allow you to do even more damage. This of course is based on the fact that you can sustain yourself with more warding gain. Notice that he's gaining over 40,000 warding now, so instead of the boss doing more damage, he's pretty much face tanking the boss and also becoming stronger as he continues to auto cast. It's important to keep casting, guys, and this is why we're getting some mana regens so you can keep up the casting. Now one thing to highlight before we finish the video, our friend Macin over here also have some great notes as regards to Force Claw. If you guys recall in our previous video, you are getting additional damage with Brand of Deception, and this needs the spell to be at least 15 mana cost. So what that means is, he is highlighting the fact that your Force Claw mana have an ideal range. As you go through the passives, you're going to see there are multiple perks to reduce the mana range. And it's quite important for you to focus on balancing those perks, so while casting your spells, your mana will be spent over 15, so you can be benefiting from additional passives. And if you want to see more notes and also more guides, I do recommend coming over to Macin's video and also his YouTube channel to learn more about the Runemaster for the late stage of the game. Now if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so, because I'll be learning with tons of the top meta, last Epoch build from different players in terms of solo and also in terms of co-op, to push for higher corruptions, 800, 2000 here, and also different ways of getting top leaderboard with arena with leveling. and in doing so, we'll be learning multiple builds from the best players in the world. So make sure you subscribe and join me on this adventure to learn with Last Epoch. And if you guys do have an amazing build, whether it's a fun build, it's a creative build, or maybe a top meta build, you can share with me on Discord, and I'll look into it, learn the build, and share with everyone on the Last Epoch community.